Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ukikicast Episode 6, the special Christmas edition of Ukikicast. How are you all doing? I am your host, as always, OneTed59. Today we have a pretty special guest on our stream. Our guest, Tyler Kehne, also known as Tyler Keen, Tyler Carnivorous. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm good, Ted. How are you?
I'm doing swell. It is currently the 20th of December. We're recording this for the special Christmas episode. So, Tyler, I know you well. Everybody in the super echelon of the SM64 ABC tasking community knows you well, but for people who aren't as knowledgeable behind the scenes and into the big land of SM64 memes, who are you and what do you do?
Well, that's a great question. I guess I would kind of describe myself as like a task enabler.
There you go.
My goal has always kind of been for other people to do the hard work, and I get to do the fun stuff from my perspective.
Yeah, quote unquote fun.
Which is just whatever kind of it. If I want to see a certain thing happen, but it isn't possible yet, I try to figure out kind of what we need to do to make it happen. And so that may be anything from like glitch hunting to like more specific, looking into the kind of numbers of how to get a certain strat working. And then sometimes I moonlight as a task for myself if I feel that I'm up to the task or it doesn't seem like other people are interested in making it happen.
Up to the task, so you could say.
Yeah, so I just kind of try to do what needs to be done.
There you go. So,
but I prefer to work kind of like more. I prefer to empower other people to do the tasking.
That way they have to do the hard work and you can just sit back and watch.
Yeah. And they get, yeah, I guess.
I completely understand. I've been, of all the task competitions I've entered, it was with a partner and I found the strats and they did all the work.
Yeah, isn't it nice?
What'd you say?
It's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly. I know. And I get the 9th place too. It's perfect.
Yep.
So,
genius.
How did you first get into Super Mario 64?
Well, and it feels weird saying this, but I think I'm like one of the older people in the community. Like I was actually around for like the actual life cycle of SM64. I feel like a lot of people in the community maybe weren't. They were maybe kind of born in the early 2000s maybe. Mm-hmm. But like I was born in the early 90s and so I didn't have a Nintendo 64 for a while, but like I was a pretty healthy kid, but yeah, I would like occasionally get like these ear infections and have to just like go into the hospital like as a precaution.
Ouch.
And they would let me use the N64 that they had, and they had Super Mario 64. That was my first exposure to it, was playing it in the hospital, like super sick.
Yeah, literally.
But, like when you're a kid and you're not feeling well, something like that really just like lifts your spirits. And I was so captivated by the game, and it was just like that there wasn't anything else like it at the time.
Oh yeah.
You think of the previous generation of consoles, not that I had that as a 4-year-old or whatever, but it was just mind blowing. And if you weren't around for it at the time, the hype around that game was just incredible.
Oh, yeah.
People talking about it on the playground and stuff. So like it just really captured my imagination as a kid. And then so I begged for the game as like a Christmas present. Eventually I got it.
Nice.
And it was just my favorite game and kind of always has been.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, that's I didn't expect a hospital, That seems a little.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing too is that I was so bad at it. Like when I was playing it in there, I remember trying to beat Peach's slide and I couldn't do it. Like it was just game over after game over after game over.
You don't even lose lives in there. How do you do that?
I know. Well, like I would go back and forth between that and Bob on Battlefield.
I got you.
Like I couldn't beat King Bob on. I couldn't beat PSS. I was terrible at it, and yet I thought it was awesome.
Oh, yeah, just because it's so much fun, even when you're not actually doing anything.
Yeah, just messing around with like the physics, and it's just like so fluid.
I don't know about you, but I think it's a pretty good game. Pretty good.
It really is. And I don't understand why like newer games haven't like. I mean, Sunshine was awesome. Galaxy is awesome. I haven't played Odyssey yet, but like they don't have the same kind of diversity in the sort of physics that Mario 64 had.
Yeah,
which was 24 years old, and I don't understand why that hasn't been replicated.
My theory, I think, is because there was like you couldn't do a lot with like the actual gameplay because it was 3D, yeah, but I don't think they were pretty like they were like, okay, there's one thing we're really good at, which is like the movement and stuff. So why don't we just focus really hard on that and then just have the levels, come as a result of that. And that worked really well. And I don't know if that's really there as much with some of the other games. Like in Galaxy, there's a lot of levels which aren't really movement based, but are more gimmick based, etc. And you don't really have a lot of that in SM64.
A great point.
Huh.
That's an excellent point. I think you're onto something there.
Let's go. I said something cool. Yeah, that's the first.
Yeah, we're on a roll here.
Let's go. That was the first question. I'm already said something cool. Nice. Anyway,
that's a good thing. I think you're right. Something to it.
Nice. So, on to the next question. So that's how you got into SM64 originally, but there has to be some kind of leap here. How did you find out about the SM64 tassing scene?
I got into it late. Well, obviously.
Well, you got into it earlier than me. Don't cut yourself short here.
Yeah. So when I say late, I mean like, so there was the like kind of the original sort of like heyday era of SM64 tassing.
Yeah, the golden age.
Right. Like, so you had 120, and then there was like, all the single stars that kind of preceded it. So I missed out on that completely. I wasn't even aware of it. It was, I guess I could say it was the YouTube algorithm. I want to say the first, I don't quite remember the first TAS that I saw. I don't think it was a Mario 64. It was probably Super Mario Brothers or something.
Makes sense.
But it was some other TAS, and then the one SM64 120 I think showed up in the like suggested videos after I watched that, and I think I saw it. Yeah, so it was 2012 when 120 came out, right? Yeah, so I was in college. And I remember watching it in college and watching it with my friends, and we just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I mean, it was like, because I mentioned how SM64 kind of just captivated my imagination when I was younger. Obviously, as you get older, you lose that because when you're a kid, and I think even in general, when you're looking at something that you don't understand, your mind kind of estimates like the complexity of it. Like when you're looking at maybe a math problem and you're not familiar with it, and you look at the symbols and you kind of estimate, roughly how many different things the symbols could mean. Yeah. And then your mind sort of makes a very vague estimate of the complexity of the thing based on that. And it's usually way larger than the actual complexity of it. When you don't understand calculus and then you come to understand it, it seems so much simpler in retrospect.
Yeah, I definitely understand that example.
Like with Mario 64, you get older, or any game.
Yeah, I gotcha. I was making a joke at how I am not bad at calculus.
Well, you come to understand that there's only so much complexity that it can have, and your imagination isn't as convincing, I guess, because you know that certain things aren't possible.
You're more rooted.
Right. But like, so that kind of happened with me, but then when I saw 120, it was like the feeling came back, and it just like, it got me going again, and it got my imagination going in a way that like I didn't think was possible. And after watching 120, I wanted more task content. I was like, okay, what else is there? There's got to be other stuff. Like, I want to see like everything that there is with this game. And I came across, like, at a certain point, there was the 100 lives task. And
I love that task.
yeah, it's super cool. And we've got all the free runs and everything. And so then at a certain point, I saw the 20-star ABC task.
Oh yeah, the really old one. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I thought that was just like that was amazing, and I wanted to see more. And we can get into this later, but and then I kind of I came across Pannon's videos, and do you want to know about how I like started becoming involved in it, or
Sure.
just how I became aware of it? So yeah, with I, like a lot of people, I binge watched all of Pannon's videos.
Same.
And then I kind of became fixated on the Hazy Maze Cave A press, like getting into Hazy Maze Cave. And for some reason, I just thought that was like, it just seemed to me that was something that should be possible. And so I thought, well, why don't I give it a try myself and see if there's anything I can do? And that ended up working out. And so I kind of got sucked into the community through that.
Once you find one, you can't stop.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was your first one. You've saved a couple A presses in the meantime. We'll get into that in a little bit. But
Sure.
I want to start off with you mentioned that you were kind of newer than a lot of people earlier, but in terms of the tasking scene, you've been there a little bit longer than a lot of people that have joined mostly in the Discord era. You were actually the first person that I've interviewed, aside from the legendary Dom Dunk, obviously, to have joined the SM64 tasking scene like earlier than I did. You were in the Facebook group chat before me. I think you actually invited me in there. You're one of the rare few to actually start up in the Facebook group. So what was that era like?
The Facebook group chat. So I mentioned how I missed out. I missed out on the golden age of tasking, as you called it.
Yeah.
So we had this. So when I started getting involved in the A button challenge, Pannon had a Facebook group that he had started, because we've been talking through YouTube DMs.
Oh God,
which is kind of awkward. Like,
yeah, those are awful.
I don't even think they exist anymore.
I don't think they do.
But Pannon started a Facebook group with Plush and Gunny D. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing Gunny D's name correctly.
I think that's close enough.
Apologies if I'm not. But it was just those three, and then I got invited to that. And then we just started kind of adding more people. But it was like, it was weird because it was clear that the era from like what had happened in 120 in that era was like over.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to be able to recapture that. But as we started developing more things, like more A press saves and
bigger techniques.
Yeah, and sort of the initial like decompilation efforts, which we can talk more about later probably. It became clear that like we had something different going on, and it was also cool. It wasn't what they had before, but it was something like new, and it was something exciting. And there was a lot of energy in that group chat, and a lot of like creative energy, and it was so much fun to be a part of. It felt like a renaissance.
Yeah.
SM64 tasking.
There were a lot of memes in there too.
Yeah, there were. And it was something I treasure a lot. It was great to be a part of that. It also it could get a little like volatile at times.
Yeah, it just definitely could.
Like the current, what we have with the Discord is very like, it's very stable.
Yeah.
And I don't know that people appreciate that it's not by accident that it's that way, you know?
Yeah, I kind of designed that a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if you could, you know, maybe share a little bit about that, because
I'll go into it a little bit, you know, be a little cagey with some of that information, but
sure,
basically
yeah.
it was just a couple of squabbles between a couple different people, and, you know, some people were immature, including myself. And so basically, once you just have that repeatedly, people start getting annoyed with each other, people start kicking each other out, and
it's not productive.
exactly, it's not productive. So starting off the Discord and making it like, hey, this is way more not don't attack each other for stupid things. That made it a lot nicer, I think.
Yeah, oh, it's so much nicer. And it's like, you know, sometimes I've seen people complain about not being able to like express themselves fully or whatever, but it's like it's not worth the trade-off at all.
Yeah.
Like, what we have now is so awesome. And it's just if you haven't experienced it the other way, like it's just
it's
you might
different.
not see it, but
it's different.
It's so much clearer that this way is better.
Yeah. So that group chat is where you discovered probably I would say your biggest discovery in SM64 to date, which is a little thing called parallel universes. So I want you to walk me through the process of how you would find and exploit a glitch like that, especially before decomp.
Yeah. So it was before decomp, like
the full
officially.
Decomp project, right?
Right. But the thing is, I had my own like sort of my own kind of decomp that I had started. I want to say it was late 2014, but maybe it was early 2015. But it wasn't like it wasn't anything that you could compile and build and like run anything.
Yeah.
You can, but it was just solely for the purpose of understanding the game better.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was basically just I would read through the assembly and just write things in like pseudo C. Yeah, so that was how I was able to kind of discover a lot of things initially, because nobody else was really doing that at the time. I know Bad Boot and Peter Fedek kind of independently had their own decom efforts that were the same sort of thing. Like, you couldn't build anything, but it was, you know,
for documentation. Yeah.
Documentation. Yeah. But yeah, so I had one of the first things I did was I went through like the just basic movement and like collision functions, and like the quarter step movement functions. And so there was a certain bit of code in there that had come to our attention after the discovery of misalignments, which was it basically where Mario's floor and ceiling collision code, it converts his position from a float to an integer, and that sort of like difference in the values is what, because it doesn't do that for the wall collision. So you have a slightly different position that's being tested for the floor collision and the wall collision, and that leads to the misalignment glitch.
Oh, that's what leads to that? Huh.
Yeah. So there was that bit of code that like we had noticed, or that I had noticed. But there's another consequence to that float to integer conversion, which escaped my attention at the time, and for like a while, several months. And then I was just kind of like going over it again, because I just like periodically go over stuff to see if I've like missed anything. And I looked at this code and I was like, wait a second, this is converting it to the float to a 2-byte or a 16-bit integer. So what happens if Mario's position is a value that's larger than 16 bits? Shouldn't there be some kind of like overflow?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay. So what would happen if there was an overflow? Like, what happens if you you shift Mario's position like exactly 2 to the 16th units in one direction, won't he just be like
chilling?
Yeah, at the same spot. Won't there be a floor underneath him? So I think I had this thought like late at night, so I didn't test until the next day. That's what I remember. And I tested it, and obviously it was like I thought it was.
Huh.
But then I didn't immediately make the connection that it was the same thing, because the glitch itself had been done before.
Yeah, with especially at the BLJs and like Big Boo's Haunt or Hazy Maze Cave.
Right. And it's been done many times, but like people didn't really know what it was. I had done it too, but I think the general consensus at the time was that it was like
an emulator bug because it crashed on console.
Because it only happened on emulator, it crashed on console, so people didn't like think it was that important, because if it was an emulator bug, that's not legitimate.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to really look into it too much. So I didn't immediately make the connection that that's what it was, but it wasn't long after that I don't remember even if it was myself that made the connection or like...
I think it was you.
Because I shared it with the group pretty quickly. My memory is kind of fuzzy about this, but...
It's all right.
Someone realized it at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally wanted to call it the Netherworld. And then I think it was Plush. It was like, these are kind of like parallel universes. And it was like, oh, that's the perfect name, because they're in parallel and
the universes are exactly
similar. So
shout outs to Plush.
Yeah.
So from that parallel universe discovery is where the genesis of a new TAS was being made, kind of similar to the old 120 TAS from 2012. That is the one key TAS. So how did that start going? Because without that discovery, that just wouldn't have happened at all.
Right. It did not take very long. Between that discovery and the start of one key, there was not a long period of time. I guess depending on what you consider the start to be, but I almost immediately, once I realized what this glitch was, I almost immediately made the connection that it would be useful for doing the moat door skip.
Yeah.
Because I had never tried to like actually solve the moat door skip, but I just kind of like, I try to kind of familiarize myself with different
theorize about it.
Different problems we're trying to solve. And so I had taken the time to understand what the issue was with moat door skip, which is that, we have that one frame window where we can open the door, but we just can't
walk into the door in that one frame.
We can't walk in the door. Like there's too much distance vertically, and there isn't a space that's close enough. So we need a way to get lower so that we can just go into it horizontally. And if we find a way to do that, we'll be golden. And so I saw this, and I realized that as soon as I realized that water was not in the parallel universes, I was like, oh, this is it. But then there was the whole problem where it crashes on console. So that was like the biggest issue at first.
Yeah.
And I remember Plush was really skeptical about it. He was like, "There's no way this is gonna work." Like, but I just felt that it was something that should be possible. So I wanted to put effort into trying to make it happen. And so so most people probably know, they're familiar with the fixed camera strategy, right?
Yeah.
Where you hold the R button, camera stays in the real map, and the game doesn't crash when you go into a parallel universe. But I actually got the idea for trying that from a different game
Huh.
on the N64. Super Smash Brothers 64.
Ah.
Yeah. Because I played that a lot in college with my friends. And there's a glitch in that game where if you play as Mario or Luigi,
And roll against the pipe.
you roll against the pipe, your depth coordinate will either increase or decrease depending on which way you're rolling. So I think if you roll to the left against a wall or a pipe, you'll move into the screen. So you'll move like farther away.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what happens if I just keep doing this? And so obviously the character's sprite gets smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Not sprite, but they're
they get further and further away.
Right. So I was like, okay, what happens if it gets so small that it's just like less than a pixel? Will there be some kind of like divide by zero error, and will the game crash? Like, I just wanted to see what would happen. So I remember just like rolling into the wall for like 15 minutes, and then the game crashed.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, there's my theory was correct.
Huh.
So I remembered that, and I was like, with this parallel universe stuff, Mario's moving really far away from the camera. I bet the problem is that he's too small, and so then it's the same issue where the game is trying to render Mario.
Oh, huh.
And it's causing it to
considered
crash. So I thought to try the fixed camera, because maybe it would, if you got it so that there was like a wall or something in between Mario and the camera, it wouldn't render Mario, and so the game wouldn't crash. So like, and we tried it and it worked, and it was like unbelievable, but like my reasoning was wrong.
Oh yeah, that's not how that works at all.
Yeah, it's not what happens. For people who don't know, it's what happens is the camera tries to follow Mario, and it gets too far away from the stage, and it's the stage that rendering the stage when it's too far away that crashes, and it's not any sort of divide by zero error. It's an overflow, and it's something that like it if they had done it differently, it could have been prevented, I think. But and the game doesn't even render Mario when he's
too far. Yeah.
Any objects when they're more than 20,000 units away, I think the game doesn't even try to render them.
Yeah.
So I was totally off base about the like details of why the fixed camera worked, but
it worked anyways.
I guess my intuition about it was right, so
yeah,
it worked out.
Well, we take those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, take the win. So yeah, to answer the question, once I had kind of gotten the fixed camera thing figured out, it was just a question of, can we get Mario
with all that speed to the door,
right? And I don't quite remember the order of how things played out, but at a certain point, because there's the whole thing with Vanish Cap, right?
Yeah,
where you can conserve the speed from Vanish Cap into Castle Grounds.
Very conveniently.
And I was pretty aware of that. What's that?
Very convenient, because like if that didn't spawn you like underwater, we just wouldn't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, the run wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's really ironic because I was aware of that glitch. I didn't discover it; it was already like known, but I had noticed it. I don't know, a few months prior to all this going down, and I remember thinking like specifically, like this is really cool, but there's no possible way this would be useful for any in any like practical scenario. And then of course it ends up becoming like the centerpiece of the
skipping Bowser 1. Yeah.
So yeah, pretty ironic. But so we knew about that, and then it was just a question of like, can we get into Vanish Cap quickly, and can we get out with the speed and restore it quickly enough to actually save time? And that was what most of the One Key like development was focused around.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like making those strats possible at all.
Yeah. I don't know if this is right, but wasn't like the PU movement to get into the moat door, like, wasn't the moat door entered successfully before we actually got into Vanish Cap?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
So, like, we did the moat door skip, but then we couldn't get into Vanish Cap for the longest time.
Right. Yeah, you look at the current run, and it seems like it's so easy to get into Vanish Cap.
Yeah, there's BLJ, easy peasy.
Yeah, but that BLJ is more complicated than it looks like. I mean, it's not really if you know what's going on, but we didn't understand things as well back then. I didn't. I probably understood the collision code better than anybody.
I think you still might understand the collision code better than anybody.
But like the inner kind of like mechanics of the BLJ, I guess, I understood really well, but I didn't understand it as well as we do now.
Yeah.
And like that BLJ from the lake to get into Vanish Cap, it like the key there, even with the pause buffering, you don't get enough speed once you get to the spot where you have to jump. And so, I mean, Bismuth explains this in his video, but like,
I'll mention that. Don't worry.
The key is that you have enough speed to, once you BLJ again, or once you do another long jump, once you reach the spot where you have to jump, like your quarter step is inside the bridge, and because there's a ceiling, you don't move anywhere. And I didn't realize that was like a mechanic until we had actually figured out another way to get in.
The zigzag strat.
Right. Which I spent so much time on.
That's actually such a cool strat. I'm actually so sad that it's not the fast.
Yeah, I am too. It was really something. But that's how it goes.
Yeah, it is faster, so.
Yeah. I think it's about a 4-second time difference from the older zigzag strat.
I gotta go find that video. I gotta ask Stick to link that in the description or something.
Yeah, it's like, I think MK Dasher uploaded it at some point, but I think there was actually a faster one that I have on my old laptop, and it's named like zigzag attempt, like 3.12.37, and then it goes up to like 70. So the odds of me ever like finding it again are kind of small, and it's not much faster than
the old zigzag
actually posted. And that may even be a figment of my imagination. It may not even exist at all, but that's what I think I remember.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that started. So we're talking about how the task was being made. What was the experience working on that task as a team? Because you hadn't really worked on a task before this of like a speed optimized task.
It was hard, and it was like, so I mentioned at the beginning that, you know, I see myself as kind of a task enabler. I prefer to have other people do the actual tasking.
Yes.
But in this case, nobody really, like, I think the mechanics of like working with parallel universes were so new and so like complex that nobody was really super eager to jump forward and actually like implement this stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't either, but I really wanted to see it. You know, I really believed it was possible.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see it through. So if I wanted the run to exist, it just kind of, I had no choice but to do it myself. So, but it was really hard because just not having any experience with tasking, there was a huge learning curve. Even with like, I didn't do too much traditional movement, but even like the stuff that I was doing, like basically anything with BLJs I did, and the as well as the swimming in the moat.
Yeah.
But like that stuff, like even the moat swimming was just like, I spent so much time on it. It's just like, people who don't do any tasking, I don't know that they realize how labor intensive it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into every frame.
It's so hard, and I just have so much respect for the all the taskers we have in our community, and just like how talented they are and how like hard they work.
Yeah,
because it's quite difficult. So, and me just not having the experience, it was even more kind of time consuming, but it was very rewarding, and
Oh yeah,
I had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, certainly no regrets.
Nice. So I would have to say, of all the parts you worked on, by far the hardest part, at least in my opinion, would have been optimizing parallel universe movement for speed, especially being the first person to ever really do that. So how did you do that? How many attempts did that take?
It took a lot of attempts, and I had some really complicated Excel spreadsheets where I would I actually at a certain point I made like a simulator using
using Excel,
Visual Basic.
Yeah,
in Excel. I ended up using that to help me with like the zigzag strat. But prior to that, I had like some basic movement equations, and I had these tables where it was just like you had all the different possible angles that because it's every like 16 units or whatever, and like all the different possible positions Mario could take, and then I modded them by 2 to the 16th, so it would be like the
in collision stuff.
Right, like his actual position in the parallel universe.
In the main
and then
one,
I had a graph of all of these there's what is, I don't know how many dots there were, but like several thousand, and it would just be like an overlay of all of these positions on the graph. And I had it as the background, I had the castle grounds, because Gunny D took some pictures in Toadstool, and
oh man,
so I had the like bird's eye view of
the castle. Yeah,
and so I used that to like save a lot of time with like predicting where Mario was going to go. But even with like the tools that I had, it was just very like,
it was brutal.
It was just like rolling the dice over and over and over and over and over with different parameters, and the odds of anything working was like very small. It felt like it was maybe like 1%.
Oof.
And there was always some problem, and like you'd find a route that looked promising because there were so many components to it. It was like there was like how far you could turn in. I want to make sure I don't like get stuff mixed up here, because there was the vertical like platform displacement strat that came along at a certain point, and that simplified things. And I don't remember like at what stage in development that came about.
Are you talking about in Vanish Cap?
Yeah. Because I think initially there was more kind of variance.
Initially, I think you just went into a parallel universe, then just fell.
Yeah, you're right. That's how it was. And the issue with that is it introduces like another parameter to optimize, because you want to like start the falling process as quickly as possible. Like the longer your BLJ is,
the longer Mario just slowly falls due to gravity.
Right. And also just like the BLJ time itself.
Yeah.
With the current strat, it doesn't matter because you just have to wait for the cycle at the top. But like at first there was that parameter, and then there's like the swimming itself, because there are 3 different triangles, and they all have different like normal vectors. So your speed when you surface on the triangles is different. And so there's 3 triangles, and there's also like they're pretty big, so you can surface at different points. So you want to surface on a specific triangle with a specific angle, but depending on what triangle and angle you have, it might take a few frames longer to complete the swimming. So that's a parameter. And then there's like the movement. You have to,
let alone just making the movement work, like not crash. Then you have to optimize it.
Right. Well, you not crash. So that was like the final kind of frontier, because the initial kind of proof of concept that I made with Sonic Packer, that didn't crash on console. But it turned out we got really lucky with that.
Nice.
And everything that I made after that for like several months crashed on console, and we just could not figure out what was going on.
That is really lucky, because imagine if that just crashed and then like your next like 2 months just crashed. You might just not even like finish the project. You might,
Right. It'd be like, oh, like we can't do this after all.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, yeah, you're right. It was a big deal that the first one didn't crash, because it was like, okay, we know we can do this. It's just like,
now how do we actually optimize this? Yeah.
Right. And yeah, and the timeline of events is sort of like kind of a little bit fuzzy to me, because
it's been 5 years.
Right. It's like, what I remember is that I ended up just kind of guessing. We tried lots of different movement patterns to try to get to the door without crashing.
Yeah.
And I remember that eventually we tried like just not having any analog input, and that didn't crash. So
just like, like, what do you mean by that? Like on the control stick?
Oh yeah. So I didn't phrase that well. So like if you don't move, like it's in Bismuth's video, where if you don't manage to run 4 quarter steps through parallel universes, the game will crash unless you're not holding any.
Unless you're neutral.
You don't have any input on the joystick, and then it's the other way around. So I think we kind of stumbled across that by accident, but it may have been because then at a certain point, Peter Fedak, he had an EverDrive, and so he was able to actually like pinpoint the cause of the crash in the assembly, and we were able to figure out definitively what was going on. And I can't quite remember if that happened after or before, but yeah. I don't actually remember your original question.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't even remember it either. It's okay. That was a good answer to whatever the question was.
I'm sure the information's buried in it somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. You probably answered it. Pretty sure. So, of all the incredibly technical parts of the One Key task, why is the only part you decided to write a full description of the punch before wall kicking off of TikTok clock?
Yeah, I don't have much of a defense for that. It was like, I was really overwhelmed by the prospect of explaining all of the moat skip stuff. And the clock punch was like the most recent thing I had worked on, and it was really cool. And I thought it was especially cool how you could mathematically prove that it was optimal at this point. Like, there's no way to improve it unless you just come up with a different
strat. Yeah,
it's different strat. Or there's a theoretical way to improve it with an overlap, but the geometry isn't. It's not possible with the geometry. It's not possible in practice. But I was motivated to write a description because of like that proof aspect of it. And then afterwards, I just kind of like ran out of steam. I was like, I'll get to this.
I'll finish this later.
Yeah, I think it still says like coming soon or something.
Yeah, it still does. So when is soon?
Yeah, I got no defense there.
When is soon then?
Well,
when are you going to update it to say, watch this video, and you're going to link Bismuth's video?
The thing is, like, if you think about the age of the universe, right? How old is it? Like 13, 14 billion years?
Somewhere like that, give or take a couple billion, you know?
Right. I think it was 13 at one point, but now it may be 14.
Maybe.
But it's really not that long, you know? It's like, it is a long time, but it's like a number you can wrap your head around.
Exactly.
Like, there are people in this world who have like $13 billion, you know?
Yeah. So, that is true.
In the grand scheme of things, you know, if I don't finish the description in the next like 10 billion years, it's still really not that long.
That's a great way to look at it, yeah.
I think like 100 billion years is when I think soon no longer applies. Maybe that's like the cutoff.
Yeah, that seems a bit like reasonable on soon, you know?
Right. Maybe people disagree with me on that one.
Yeah, they can tell us in the comments. I'm sure most reasonable people will agree.
Right.
Exactly. Right. So you mentioned the clock punch could theoretically be improved, but it isn't in practice. I have seen a thing from you mentioning that parallel universe movement to get into the moat door from the moat door skip could theoretically also be improved with a technique known as the 10K glitch.
Yes, you're correct.
So what is that, and how does that work? Why is this task not optimal, Tyler? How did you mess this up so badly?
Yeah, well, I swore when I was finishing up what is the current movement for one key. But the last part of it was the camera work on when you swim up the waterfall.
Yeah.
And there's all that like camera and spaz, and it's not done just like for the hell of it. It's to get the camera to have a specific angle. But it was basically just random. That was like the result of me just trying like hours and hours and hours, just like button mashing different buttons.
Just on the swimming?
Because I like the camera. We still don't know how the camera works. Like
that's fair.
We can't really describe how to manipulate it on a higher level. So it was just like random, essentially. But I swore when I was doing that, I would never, ever again would I do this. This was the last time I was going to make a promote skip. And I was never going to go back to it. But then the 10K glitch came along, which was like one of those things, like every once in a while I see something and I think, well, this is kind of cool, but it's like useless, and I don't even have the energy to bring it up to people because it's just like there's no point.
Yeah. And you did find 10K glitch too.
Yeah. But then I just decided to bring it up at a certain point, and then other people were like, actually, like this is a little more versatile than maybe you thought it was. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I guess I should explain what the glitch is. So basically,
yeah, that's pretty fair.
Specific, like very specific scenario where you have a lot of forward speed and you are holding backwards input, like backwards relative to Mario's facing angle. Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfectly backwards, just like, if you picture like two lines extending from Mario at 90 degrees, just like perpendicular through his body.
Yeah.
It has to be just like on the other side of those lines.
Makes sense.
Behind him. And then Mario has to enter a sliding action, and there's something else, I think. I don't even remember. But basically you can use it to multiply Mario's speed by just a huge amount. And the other useful thing about it is that it reflects your speed from positive to negative. And there's actually very few ways of doing that.
Yeah.
It's basically
especially with that much speed.
Yeah, you have text and like poles and water, and then there's the see up
wall hug.
See up wall hug, and also the like steep slippery slopes, or just slippery slopes where you.
Oh yeah, you bounce off out of bounds. Yeah.
Right. So like it's really valuable to be able to reflect your speed. And so how it would be useful for the moat skip is basically you would restore speed on the waterfall like we do, move forward instead of backwards into the air in a parallel universe, and then move forward again, land back on the waterfall, enter a sliding state so you can do the 10K glitch, hold backwards, and then you have negative speed. You go back into the air in a parallel universe, but with a totally different speed, land back on flat ground, and then the end result of all this is that you are already you already have your back to
the moat door.
Because the main things that take time for the actual like Castle Grounds movement like you have to take a few frames to restore speed and like end up in a walking action that takes like 2 frames, and then there's 3 landing frames.
Yeah.
And then you have to you
have to turn around.
Right. Turning around is like the main thing that takes time. So if we can already be facing the right way, that's like, it takes 16 frames, I think, to turn around 180 degrees. So that's like, we could save up to 16 frames. Realistically, probably more like 10. Just based on, it's going to take a little longer to do the 10K glitch. So, but maybe 10 to 12 frames is a realistic time save if we can pull that off. The only real issue is the kind of input coarseness. Like we can't target specific speeds super easily
because you only have 256 things you can do.
Analog inputs, right? Exactly. And even your speed is so large, like that
varies a huge amount.
Yeah. So, and we have limited because we can't really do too much with the camera to try to offset that. I don't think so. There may be an issue there. I don't really think there will be. I think it'll just make it harder, which is kind of why like I said, I vowed never to do this again. But I'm kind of rethinking that. But the difficulty of it.
Yeah, it sounds awful. I know a lot about SM64, and when you were talking, it was pretty hard for me to follow. I'm going to be honest. Not just because you were bad explaining it, just because it's so high level of the stuff you got to do.
It's hard for me to follow, and this is like I'm the one explaining it.
Yeah,
like it's like I don't even remember like most of what went into like the actual details of like designing this route. I just know it was like way harder than any, like compared to the Fire C movement, just like orders of magnitude more difficult.
Nice. I'm expecting to see that by next week.
Yeah, next decade maybe.
Yeah. Well, so let's move on a little bit from One Key. We've talked about One Key a lot. Let's move on to more ABC stuff in general, because you have, contrary to popular belief, been active since 2015. So
yeah.
So why did you focus mainly on the A button challenge?
That's a great question. I just really think the A button challenge is super cool. It's like the challenge, like the premise of the challenge is so simple, but the actual like implementation of it is so complex.
Yeah.
It's just really kind of the sweet spot of complexity, and you also throw in the fact that it's not like
trivial.
Well, it's not something that you're supposed to be able to do. It's not a problem,
Yeah, it's not like they designed the game to be beatable without jumping.
Right. If you're playing a puzzle game, the puzzles have solutions. Like these aren't supposed to have solutions, so there's like it ups the challenge factor dramatically, and it's just like it's this whole other dimension to the game that you can kind of explore.
A whole other universe, you could say.
Yeah, really. I mean, and you have to kind of just scrape the bottom of the barrel when it comes to like different techniques to try to like, gain a little bit of extra height or a little bit of extra speed, or, manipulate some other object in a way to get like a bounce or something that you need. And, I think we all kind of feel the same way about it. Everybody who's worked on the A button challenge, it's just like, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, because there's so much little nuances that kind of just get lost in some ways when you're just going for speed.
Right.
Like, imagine,
so many tricks
I don't think that, I don't think anyone would have ever discovered the 207 dive recover if, they were just long jumping over that corner,
Right. And that ended up being useful in like
going back to One Key, like parallel universes were originally an A button challenge thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, all my research at that point was basically for the purpose of the A button challenge, and it was just kind of a coincidence that it ended up being like useful for any percent. Um,
Which is like really
Yeah, that's
cool.
important.
Like the challenge of not pressing a button ended up finding strats that were faster even if you use that button, which is like,
right.
yeah, that's
Isn't that ironic?
It forces you to just be more creative. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and the creativity of it, just the opportunity to be like solve problems creatively, like it's. I've never found anything in other areas of my life where I can like solve problems like that.
Yeah.
Like at school, at work, like I just have never I've never duplicated that feeling of solving problems in the A button challenge.
Huh.
It's very valuable to me.
Nice.
And I think other people would say the same thing probably.
Yeah, literally $1,000 valuable if you solve the tick-tock clock one.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was just saying. Yeah, so you've contributed a lot to ABC in terms of like 207, 10K glitch, parallel universes, etc. So, what is your favorite contribution that you've made? Basically,
for a really long time, it was the Chucky drop
in Bowser in the Sky.
In Bowser in the Sky,
Huh?
Where, well, it's pretty self-explanatory.
You drop the Chucky,
yeah. You drop the Chuck, yeah. It looks very simple from the actual, just like if you're just watching the in-game camera, but it's like it's very complex. It was one of the first things I did. It was like it was like
one of the first difficult things you did.
Yeah, it was the first thing I ever tasked like properly. My initial my first couple of videos were like they were spliced. I mean, they were legitimate, but I couldn't figure out how to record properly. So they
had no audio.
States. Yeah, they had no audio. So like I had I just like started recording the video, and then I would load save states and stuff. So then the recording would include all of the bad attempts, and I had to
edit those out. Yeah,
I didn't understand the whole task recording thing. So I think the Chucky drop was the first. That was when I finally figured out how to record a task properly. But yeah, just like how that all came together, without few tools we had at the time.
Oh yeah, that was before Stroop by a lot. Yeah,
there was no Stroop, no decomp, and so it was just memory watching with Cheat Engine.
Oh god!
And I was able to figure out how to manipulate the Chakya and the surrounding geometry to get them down. I was really proud of how well that went, and in retrospect, it was extraordinarily lucky. Just everything about that is just the fences on the walls there that Chakya can kind of slide along. The fact that Mario's just right at the edge of that,
barely close enough
range.
Yeah,
it's everything just works out perfectly for that to happen. It easily could have gone the other way.
And there's a lot of even if you just watch Mario, there's a lot of movement that happens in terms of you got to do 50 207 dive recovers.
Right. Yeah, at the time we thought that was hard. Now it's just oh, whatever.
Now there's there's one hard one. It's the one in Bowser in the in the Dark World.
Right. Bowser in the Dark World.
So that used to be your favorite one, you said. So what is your favorite one now?
Oh, it's kind of been replaced a little bit by the Secret Aquarium entry.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting, honestly.
Just because I spent so much time on that, and that was I had stepped away from SM64 for a while. Actually, kind of intentionally, because I just felt it was taking up too much of my time.
Yeah, I just need a break for a bit.
Right. But I had these it would keep. I had ideas that would come into my head, and I'd suppress them. And then when I got back into it, it was one of the it wasn't the first thing I did, but it was just I don't know, it just all that kind of creativity just came roaring back with a vengeance, and I just spent. I remember just being in my dorm room at college and just spending hours and hours and hours on this, and just over the course of months, trying to get it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting to collaborate with Bad Boot on like the last part of it in SSL was just like super cool. And the whole process was just like, it was awesome.
Yeah, because that might be the most visually like impressive. Like if you haven't seen the game before, like in terms of like the ABC stuff, like one key, it looks really cool. You're like, oh, they entered the moat door, but you don't really understand like the level of like craziness that has to go on for that. But
definitely
jumping into Secret Aquarium, the one A button press, saving that one is just so insane. The amount of routes you have to take, you have to like. For people that haven't seen this task, I would highly recommend watching the commentated version by Bad Boot, edited by Stick.
Absolutely,
it's absurd. Like they have to go into Shifting Sandland with 0 stars and like hyperspeed punch and like 10K glitch, and there's a floating shell, and you do like 5 things in one frame. And just think about going into Shifting Sandland to avoid jumping into Secret Aquarium. Like that is required.
Yeah.
Like
it's absurd. Yeah.
The level of creativity needed to even like theorize something like that is like crazy to me.
I think what's funny about that is I think in Last Impact, if I'm remembering correctly, don't you have to go to the pyramid level to get to the aquarium level?
I will take your word for it.
I think you do. You have to. There's like that pipe with the where you have to turn to flat Mario, and then you that lets you go into the pipe. If I'm remembering correctly, I think that's how it is.
I haven't really played Last Impact, so that's why.
Oh, you're missing out.
I know.
But yeah, it's very ironic. You have to go from the desert level to get into the aquarium.
Yeah,
and it's just absurd.
Yeah, it's like it makes Watch for Rolling Rocks look like a simple thing.
Yeah.
Which is like, wow, this is. Oh man, I would agree. It's probably my favorite strat too.
It does have everything in it. Kind of, you got cloning, you got like not parallel universe movement, but like very high speed movement, speed conservation between levels, like
text box redirection of speed, glitchy ledge grabs.
Yep, it's got it all.
It's a lot, and it's crazy that all of that is to save one jump.
Yep, but it was worth it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, speaking of saving one jump, this is a very popular question. Will Bowser in the Fire Sea 0x and N64 actually happen?
Definitely. Wow. Absolutely.
Oh, really?
The thing is, like, the thing you have to understand about, like, my sort of predictions is that I always try to think, like, kind of intuitively and, like, based on what I feel. So, not so much, like, what, like, seems rationally possible.
Yeah.
So, like, my feeling is that it's possible. Like, I have just a very strong feeling about it. Looking at the actual evidence, there is, like, it's not quite so certain.
Okay.
But I haven't let that stop me before, and it usually works out.
Nice.
The way that I want. So, like, what I will say is that if you want to talk about just saving the A press and not about doing it like quickly,
yeah,
that's pretty likely because we know we can use a bully battery to build up thousands of speed.
Yeah.
Once we get to like 10,000 speed or whatever, we can build speed more quickly using the like squish cancel.
Yeah.
Speed transfer strats. That's like pretty much a sure thing. The only like issue is the final like speed transfer where you have to do the actual like platform displacement. I don't know how familiar like people listening are going to be with the strat.
Probably not.
Explained like by various people a few different times, but
yeah, Jong had like 12 questions in here on this question sheet about platform displacement. We're not going to get to those.
I should probably talk to Jong like offline at some point, because he could help out a lot with that. I have an idea. Well, the problem basically is that you need the platform to be tilted like
A lot.
about as far as it can go. Like because obviously you can't go under the lava.
Yeah.
So you need it to be tilted like almost to the maximum in order to get the
Required angle.
in order to get the because Mario has to go up instead of down. So in order to get that, it's got to be tilted as almost as far as it can go, which is not a problem in normal gameplay, but because we need to do like a speed transfer is we need to have like negative however many million speed.
Yeah.
It's you can't tilt the platform easily.
Yeah.
When you have that much speed, so I still think it's my best idea at this point is using like a triple bully collision to have the bully clip Mario through the platform instead of just like having to fall off the edge of the platform. But this requires like you have to have the bully collide with Mario 3 different times at 3 specific like places or 3 different places at 3 specific times, and I don't have like an intuition for how realistic that is in practice.
Yeah,
I feel like it should be possible, but I really can't say.
So basically right now, the best answer is hopefully.
Yeah. Like deep down inside, I think definitely.
Nice.
But I don't, in terms of evidence that I can offer.
You don't have the M64 already.
Right.
So aside from Bowser and the Fire C0X, which is the big one, the big kahuna, if you will, what else do you think will happen in the future of the 8-button challenge? Like when SM64 is completely solved, there's no more things that can happen in the game. How many do you think will be left? How many 8-button presses?
I think 13.
13. Which ones?
Which ones? Let me think here. I'm not trying to remember all of them. I'll name some that I don't think are going to be saved.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to list all of them. I don't even think I could list all of them off the top of my head.
The SSL ones I don't think are going to happen.
Which
Unless
ones?
the iRock thing works out. But I think that's like...
Which SSL ones? Like the...
So there's they're both in the pyramid.
Right. Okay.
It's like the higher pyramid stars. There's a bunch of half A presses that I don't think are going to get saved, like in Dire Docks.
Yeah.
Although actually, you might be able to do something there. I was going to talk about that, not here, but like in the Discord, but I forgot.
There you go.
Will, but it's a long shot idea. I
don't
know. Like it's hard to say specifically which ones because there's a lot of them that have long shot ideas, and I feel like some of them are bound to work out. I'm just not really sure which ones. We're at 19 now, right?
Yeah, 19 remaining. Yeah,
19. So then you figure Fire C gets saved and Lethal Lava Land, so that brings us down to 17. Something's got to work out in Jolly Roger Bay, I feel. So
really
16. And then I just think between the rest of the stuff, there's 3 more A presses about that. That's just like around there.
Makes sense. Why don't I just go through all of them and see, hey, do you think this will be saved or not? So First off, Jolly Roger Bay chest.
Yeah, I think it'll happen.
Okay. Princess's Secret Slide box star.
No, the only realistic thing was like using the like a wall gap to clip through at the top of the like that lower room.
Yeah,
and you just can't. You can get the speed. You can build up enough speed to do it. You just can't get the approach at all. Not even close. So I don't think there's any real chance.
Rip. Lethal Lava Land's elevator.
Yep. That's like the most
really
certain one.
In what way? Just like you
Well,
feel
it's
the
just
best.
like I don't think there's much doubt about the bully battery thing working out there.
Oh, nice.
It's just like it's going to be really hard to do, but I think like very little doubt that it's actually possible for me.
There you go.
Not for me to do specifically.
Yeah,
but for someone.
For someone to do. I don't know. I think you kind of backed yourself in a corner now. Now you have to. Okay, so what's the next one? Next one, pyramid top star inside the pyramid. I forget the name.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Rip. So,
but maybe there's the IROC thing. So it's
What do you mean by the IROC thing, by the way? Just IROC raising?
Yeah, that idea, and
well,
I don't think it was conclusively proved impossible. So
aren't they on like separate rooms or something? Like, isn't there a loading zone?
Yeah, so that you would have to like go back over the loading zone.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't seem very probable to me.
No, but it's
technically
not, like,
theoretically possible. So,
right.
Well, I guess the next one's the same one, which is getting out of the secrets.
The other SSL star, yeah.
So that one's basically the same thing. So
that one's like I think if we were to get based on where the loading zone is, I think that one is more likely. If we could do the IROC thing, because it may be that we do the IROC thing, we still can't get the highest star.
Yeah, maybe that makes sense. Yeah, just because it's so close to the top. Bowser and the Fire Sea Pole. We already went over that one. The 2 jumps needed in Tiny Huge Island Reds.
Oh yeah, that one's really frustrating because like you can do the like Wiggler hyperspeed thing and get like several thousand speed, and
you just can't
it's like you should
use
be able to do something with it, but
yeah,
you can't. I don't know what you would do in there to.
Like the only thing I can possibly think of is to like clip into like barely next to the loading zone, but that's just not. Because that's the one area.
It's like because there's a ceiling over everything, so there's just like no spot to
actually do anything. It's so frustrating. TikTok clock entry.
What was the? Oh yeah, there was the whole Isaac acceleration thing. The glitch that Isaac A discovered where you can build speed on like a fence.
I'm not familiar.
It was a big deal for a little bit. And it was the glitch will probably be able to save a lot of time or maybe we'll be able to save a lot of time in Shindo 90%.
Huh.
But that's like in theory has promise for like the like tippy stuff, but
yeah.
I looked into it, and it doesn't actually seem like in practice it will be useful, just because the way that the fences are oriented, it's just not very
convenient. Yeah, you're probably not gonna be able to actually get in there.
Yeah, and there aren't really any other ideas.
Dang.
So unlikely, but maybe I missed something.
Makes sense. The hyperspeed grind jump in TikTok clock.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have not been able to really follow the kind of current theories for how we might save more A presses, like getting past the pole, the different Hulp stuff, like Bob-omb, instant release, and PVH throws. It's all very complex, and there's like pendulum squish cancel stuff that you would have to do, and so I don't really have an intuition for
any TikTok clock stuff.
Yeah, it's I know DS273 has been, he's kind of the expert on that now, and Ever as well.
So you're saying remote cog Pedro spot isn't a pretty valuable or not valuable, a pretty reasonable thing is what you're saying.
I'm of two minds on random cogs. Like on the one hand, I feel like I don't know. I'm not totally convinced by the estimates that it should be possible because there's like, it's not random, obviously. Like it is deterministic. So I don't know. Like I feel like in practice, the solution, or not the solution space, just like the state space of
It's just
it
not
is
that
much
big.
smaller
Yeah.
than maybe the current estimates are suggesting. But that's just, I don't really, that might be just like incorrect. On the other hand, I feel like we might be able to leverage the fact that like the random number generation is like periodic.
Yeah.
And be able to like come up with a consistent way of manipulating things. That's much easier than like anything any sort of brute force ideas that we've had. So I feel like it's either impossible or doable.
Well, I mean, those are the two options. So
yeah, so it kind of covers all the bases.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you're by definition you are right. So
yeah, those are the best kinds of predictions.
I know, right? Okay, the next two, entering into Rainbow Ride or Wing Mario Over the Rainbow.
Yeah, same deal as with
TikTok Clock,
except like worse.
Oh no!
But also, like, I had looked into trying to use the like C-up sliding on the railing, and then if you hold A, you can do like a butt slide, bounce on the step, and you can almost like do a ledge grab on the corner area. I feel like maybe with better optimization it would be possible. Doubtful, but even if you could, you can't get from the corner to those ledges. So it's really not like a realistic idea.
Dang. And then
that
the
was
last
actually
two.
How the Secret Aquarium stuff started.
Oh, really? From
testing that. Because I tried to do a glitchy ledge grab. That's where I had the idea that you could maybe do GLGs on like flat walls.
Yeah.
Where they're like a explicit like overhang. And it didn't end up working on Rainbow Ride, but I was like, what about Secret Aquarium? And you can do it there. Although that's actually not... the idea I had was to use rounding error.
Oh, God.
With Secret Aquarium, there's literally just like...
a convenient wall there.
Well, the walls are actually... The lower wall is like sloped slightly. So there's like a real like difference in widths.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah. It worked out. Is the
nice
important part.
So there you go. Those are those two. And the final two in the game, Wing Mario Over the Rainbow cannon shots.
I still feel like we can do something with flying, even though I know it's like it's really not based off of anything. It's just I feel like we've missed something. I haven't really taken an in-depth look at it, so like that's where most of my doubt comes from.
Because I mean, it is technically, if you had an infinite wing cap, you could go as far up as you wanted.
Right.
The problem is, you don't have an infinite wing cap.
Right. It all boils down to that, like not being able to break the box at more than 26 speed.
That's.
But I don't know. I'd like to take a look at it, at the flying mechanics at some point. I don't know when that's going to happen, but
if only there was an owl. We could use Hoot to the Moon as an actual strat.
Yeah.
I think that would be really funny. I'm really sad that strat isn't used.
I know. There's all sorts of cool owl glitches that never see the light of day.
I love the owl, dude. Hoot.
It's really it's a shame. There needs to just be like an owl free run where
owl free
take advantage of all the stuff you can do with the owl.
I mean, I'm not really familiar with a lot of owl tech, so I'm just saying, you want to start doing free runs. That's a pretty good place to start.
I don't think I'd be much good at free runs. I don't know. I'm not creative in that way. So
you say literally having done a large brunt of Secret Aquarium in 0x?
But that was like, I had a specific goal I was working towards.
That's true.
And like, the variance in the movement just came out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
If I just had to create something interesting without a clear like purpose in mind, I don't think I could do it.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's pretty hard to just go and just not without a goal and just to look cool.
Yeah.
So on to another kind of fragment of the 8-button challenge. Have you been following the 70 star optimized 8-button challenge task? at all?
It's like my favorite thing. I've been on a little bit of a SM64 like detox over the past like month or so, but like I've still been like glued to the developments with that. Like, I mean, what 50 Cent is doing is just like so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so thankful that he's putting his time and effort and skill into this. And it's when I first saw the 20 star speed run that like Mickey and those guys did.
Yeah, way back when.
Yeah, I wanted to see a full 90% run of the A-Button challenge, and I thought it would look so cool. And now it's like it's coming to fruition, and it's better than I could have thought it would have been.
Yeah.
And it's people are gonna love it when it's done. And my only regret is that like we might not finish Fire C in time, so it'll be a 1A press run. But that's okay, because then we can just
obsolete it. Yeah, easy peasy.
It's it's not like the category like goes away after the run's finished. You can make another run. So, and I actually think like what I would like to see kind of like happen with tassing. So I don't know if you noticed this. Sorry, it's a little bit of a like tangent.
No, you're good.
Time Travel Penguin released like a video a while ago where he had like he made the idea was basically like version control for
for M64s, yeah.
M64s. And I don't know. I didn't fully appreciate it at the time, but I think that's the way to go going forward, and that's what we want to move toward. Is like we want to have a
centralized hub.
Yeah, and like we can have it so that the M64 is something that like you build, and we have like maybe there are portions where we do like specific like inputs on specific frames, but like we also have scripts that are more high level, and we say, okay, we want to like, wall kick up this section in the most optimal fashion. And then we have this automated script that like calculates the movement based on Mario's state, like going into it. So like if we make an improvement earlier on, it can recalculate it. And, and then the different people can work on it. Like it's just like code basically. That would be like super cool. So, then we wouldn't even have like, it wouldn't necessarily be just like releases of tasks. It would just be like a constantly evolving.
Yeah, everyone can work on it. Yeah. Imagine you have like you're working multiple people instead of having to like share tasks back and forth. You just submit a pull request.
Right. Exactly. And we may not even be that far off from that with Waffle being.
That's true. Waffle is crazy.
Yeah. So if people can do some development on that, we could get to that point faster than we.
Huge shout outs to Boot for developing Waffle. It's a SM64 physics simulator basically.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. It's
Bad Boot's skill is just unbelievable. Like, just how he was able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's unbelievably talented, and I'm so glad he spent the time to make it.
Yeah, it's gonna be very useful
too.
It's
a really cool piece of software.
It's gonna make a bully battery much easier, right?
Yeah, I mean,
now you have no excuses,
theory,
right?
The thing is, I would like some scripting.
Yeah.
Just describe some like automated like scripting abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like for some of the certain aspects of the movement, they're so time consuming, but like they're simple to describe conceptually.
Yeah.
So I feel like they should be automated.
Yeah, so you can focus on like the more actually important stuff.
Right.
So going back to 70 ABC, what did you think is your favorite speed optimized star in that test?
There's a lot of competition there, a lot of great ones, but CCM Reds, I keep coming back to. It's just the way that star works out. It's like with the C up slide.
Oh yeah. I love that C up slide.
And taking advantage of like the wind to get that red coin above the lower tree. that star is really cool. Bob on Battlefield, Reds and 100 coins.
Oh yeah.
Monk's Fortress, 100 coins, but the Star Dance clip to get on the bullet bill block, that whole segment is like mind blowing.
Oh yeah, that segment's really cool.
Yeah.
Big shout outs to Fifth Dispense. They put in a lot of work to those. You can actually watch the Fifth Dispense episode after this. He's been on Ukikicast. We talked about it.
Yeah. The last one, yeah.
Yeah. Was it the last one? Yeah, it was. Wow, I gotta be more proactive at actually doing these. Oh man. So, anyways, let's move on to the next section here.
Sure.
This is just random questions.
Okay.
Not really. These are just general questions. So, there's a famous picture of you playing some kind of musical instrument. What is the story behind that picture?
Okay, so that was actually from a yearbook photo in high school. It was so I was on the cross country team, and it was somebody's birthday. It may have actually been mine, or it may have been this other kid's, but somebody had brought out those those party favors with like the roll up and you blow into it and it unfurls. That's what that was. It wasn't like an instrument.
Oh, okay.
But it was. I didn't realize that we were there. Like we were standing like for the picture. But I didn't realize the picture was being taken yet. So I was still like messing around with this thing. And then the person just happened to take the picture while I had it like completely extended. And that photo made it into the yearbook.
Oh man.
I was on the yearbook staff, so I may have had like
you may have pulled some strings to get that in.
Yeah, there was a lot of like Photoshop stuff in our like senior yearbook that year, like people in front of the pyramids and stuff like didn't actually happen.
Oh yeah.
But I just like snuck in there.
Nice. And it's been your picture ever since.
Yeah, but that was where that photo came from, and it was my Facebook profile picture for a little while.
So, yeah, that's how a lot of people have seen that picture of you now.
Yeah, well, I think it made it into the Rolling Rocks video too.
Oh yeah, it definitely did. Oh man. So, on a completely different note, this is a popular requested question. What advice would you give for people looking to get into the same type of stuff that you do?
That's a good question.
I know, right? I was like, wow, I gotta ask this one.
Yeah, so it's funny because like the way that I got into, like the way that I was able to make an impact wouldn't be possible now because it was weird. I always assumed that like if you were gonna task a game like Mario 64, you would start by like trying to understand the mechanics fully.
Mm-hmm. But right now,
I was surprised to find out that like that wasn't really like the case. Like nobody, when I first joined the community, people didn't really know the specific equations for Mario's movement. There was like small things like, people knew that the BLJ was like a 50% increase in speed, but like anything more specific, people just didn't really have a sense for. So once I figured out how to like read assembly and I started doing my own decomp stuff, I was able to find out a lot of information about that. But now that's like, we have the official like decomp, the real decomp, and so all that we know all the detailed physics stuff. But for like other games, that hasn't been done. So there's ample opportunity, I think, for people who want to do this sort of thing. Like, lots of other games you could do what I was doing. And I actually I didn't start out reading any code. I would just test things empirically. I would use Cheat Engine to do like memory searches to figure out what like variables corresponded to like position and speed. And then K's actually. Is it K's or am I pronouncing that right?
It's so just say however you want it to, honestly.
Well, he was really helpful to me when I was first starting out. He gave me some of the documentation that ROM hackers would use, and it had a lot of like structs and like data structures and other like labels that were super helpful for finding out just kind of more about how the game worked.
Yeah.
But even if you don't have something like that, just like you can do a lot with a program like Cheat Engine. The memory searching capabilities are really powerful on that. And just try to like run some tests to, you know, I had like Excel spreadsheets where I would make like plots, like scatter plots of, you know, I tried different inputs and see how it affected Mario's speed. And I was able to figure out like the running equation from that without even looking at the code.
Nice.
And then I moved into doing like decompilation stuff later. But
so what?
If anybody wants to know more about like the specific techniques, like anybody can always DM me or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, it would be like for Mario 64, it's kind of already been done, but with other games, you know, lots of potential for that.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying just like get a real good sense of the physics, and then other stuff will follow from that. Yeah,
that was the approach that I took.
Nice. Yeah, that seems like it's going to be pretty useful for basically any game.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised when I assumed that had already been done when I joined,
But no, they just had like a good enough sense of the physics. It's had like an intuition.
Well, there are different ways of approaching problems, and you know, obviously what the 120 taskers accomplished was, you know,
it was crazy,
incredible.
Yeah.
So they what they did worked.
Yeah, exactly.
No question about that.
Yeah, they are legends. I don't mean to like talk them down or anything.
No. I have no idea how they accomplished what they did.
Lots of re-records. That's how.
It's mind blowing. I mean, it still holds up, even though there's been so many improvements on 120. You go back and watch the 120; it's still incredible. Like the degree of optimization, the creativity, you know.
Yeah, like I always think of just like, the one star I love probably the most in old 120 is Tiny Huge Island 100, just because of the shell glitch.
Right.
And it's just so creative. I never would have thought I would see anything like that in SM64.
Yeah, and you can't even process what's going on quickly enough, like as it's happening. It's just like
it's just so cool.
You're not familiar with that kind of movement, and so you're like, what is even happening right now? And then like the door and the stars, like
you just clip to the wall and you're in the loading zone. What?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of good stuff they do. So
for sure,
those were some of the more general questions. I do have a couple more questions. These are some of the Ukikipedia Patreon questions that they have requested. The first one, I can't believe I have to ask this question, but do you eat ass?
I haven't yet, but I'm not like, you know, I'm not principled against it.
There you go.
I could in the future.
That's one of the best ways to do it I've ever heard. Best ways to answer that question, I mean. Next question. Why do you support the worst thing to happen in all of history, the New England Patriots?
Ooh. Wonder who that was from.
I will not answer that question.
Well, the Patriots are like pretty much really, like, if you consider all of American culture, I don't think there's anything better in America than the New England Patriots.
Oh man, if you
could take one thing from this country that other people should be in the world should be exposed to, it's the New England Patriots. How awesome they are. How awesome, you know, Tom Brady and all the other great players who have played for that organization are.
Yeah.
The fans too. Some of the best people.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody knows how you know, magnanimous and how fun it is to be around other Patriots fans.
Yeah, it's a great
people
time.
love us, and so there's really no reason why you wouldn't want to be a Patriots fan, even if you're not a fan of football.
Yeah,
just to be
no reason. I can't think of any. All right, I'll stop clowning.
I love the Pats, though. I think they're playing right now.
Oh man! All right, I'll hurry this up a little bit.
My logo on YouTube is the old Patriots logo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For people who don't know,
I think that's why
I should probably change that if I ever want to start streaming more consistently.
Change it to the recorder picture. Yeah, change it to the the you blowing into the party thing picture.
Yeah. That won't get me into any trouble.
Exactly. Now, the final Patreon question. This is a very interesting question. Where did you get the idea for your username?
I got it at Whole Foods.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, with the they had a deal going on, and I actually got my birth certificate there too.
Nice, so 2 for 1. That's a great deal.
2 for 1. Yeah, 2 for 1. Yeah.
Wow, that's
actually where I get all my ideas from is Whole Foods.
That's true. Yeah, without Whole Foods, One Key would not exist. That's pretty fair.
Yeah.
So those are all the Patreon questions. I have a couple quick fire questions that you can just answer real quick. Is it true that you and Bad Boot are actually the same person?
I wish. I wish I was as talented as Bad Boot is. We're not the same person.
Dang. Rip. I mean, don't sell yourself short. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own things I can do, but I'm very appreciative of Bad Boot's skill set.
Same.
And what he thinks.
Love Boot.
A lot of respect there.
Yeah.
We're not the same person.
Nice. Favorite Pan and Coic video?
So that would probably be the Dire Docs.
The Whirlpool one?
Red coins. The red coin half-A press.
Mm-hmm.
With the with the Whirlpool clone.
Yeah.
I find myself coming back to that one a lot. I guess that's maybe your question, you meant more of the non task videos, his explanation stuff.
Oh no, I'm just talking in general. I wasn't talking any, because that one is that's probably one of my favorites too, because it's just so, it just doesn't make sense to me on a fundamental level. I understand it, but I don't feel it. It just Mario's just kind of up there, and I'm like, what? How?
And the cool thing with that one too is that it gets progressively more insane.
Mm-hmm.
Each red coin is just you have to do even crazier things to get.
Yeah.
Until you get to the end, because I think it first starts out you have the movement from pole to pole, because you can some of them are close enough together, you can drop.
Yeah.
From one and land on the other one with a dive. So it's okay, that's pretty cool. And there's I don't remember it exactly, but then
the pole clone.
You have to make a pole clone at a certain point.
Yeah.
And that's whoa. And then you have the whirlpool thing after that, and it's like you said, it's what is even going on?
It's what?
There's over here.
Did you forget to edit out that splice, or?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites, just because the Whirlpool clone is obviously the big money shot, but everything else is still really cool.
Yeah, it builds and it just kind of escalates, and it's very hype.
Yeah.
And Penn really did a great job. I don't know how he,
I don't know how he would even. Well, he has the one unlisted video of him being I can't put the hope here. Do you know that video?
No, I don't think I do.
It's the guy spitting cereal meme. The stick figure. He's you can't put the hope here. That's impossible. And then he puts the two parts of Dire Docs overlaid with each other, and he's spitting out the cereal, and it's really funny. Honestly,
I'll have to see that. Maybe I did see it and forgot, but
it's so stupid. It's hilarious. All right, next question.
I'll check it out.
Favorite SM64 glitch? That's a hard question.
That is a hard question.
Wait, I always ask, and why is it time stop afterwards?
Time stop is very cool, but I think my favorite. I think I had a favorite at one point, and then I forgot what it was.
Oh no.
Let me think about it for a second. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you can do with cloning that's really cool.
That's fair. So you're gonna say cloning?
Very singular.
It opens up the door to a ton of other stuff.
Right. The long distance transport Goomba clones is anything with that is very cool.
We just mentioned the whirlpool.
The whirlpool. Oh yeah, that is insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think
there's a lot of competition for Vest Glitch. There's so many cool different little situational things that you can do that are just
K's sound glitch. Oh man, there's so many good ones.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. I would say, I mean, with where you're going, I thought you would say cloning, and cloning, that would honestly be a pretty good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe cloning.
There you go.
Squish cancel is really something too.
Oh yeah, just because you can basically just cancel anything Mario's doing.
Yeah, it's so OP. If only it's more geometry that
would squish you in midair. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's still I think that you can save 10 seconds in Bowser in the Sky.
Oh really? Where at?
With I think you can convert to forward speed with a BLJ on that lower Ferris wheel thing. I think you can do squish cancel there
with the rotating messed up spinning thing.
Yeah. And then you convert to forward speed, and then you just jump up to the top. I think it should be possible, but no one has attempted it.
I feel like you should ask that.
I mentioned it before, but I guess no one's tried it.
Makes sense. It seems there's.
I think people are intimidated by squish cancel.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. A lot of the testers are like, "Oh man, here's this cool. Oh, it has. Anybody else want to do this?"
Basically.
So what you're saying is just like in the one key task, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, it may fall to.
You got to do it.
Sometimes if you want to have something, you have to do it yourself.
Exactly. Okay, how about favorite Mario meme?
I'm not too up to date on the memes these days with Mario.
That's true, but you used to be a big player.
Yes, for sure. Maybe I should ask people in the Discord for memes.
There you go.
Maybe I should try and not just people who are here, but everyone in the Discord.
Oh God, there's a lot of people on Discord. What?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all the Rolling Rock stuff was cool when it was happening, and then of course we all got sick of it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because every once in a while, I'm really active on the NFL subreddit, and every once in a while, that the Rolling Rock stuff will make an appearance, and people talk about it.
Half an April.
Which you wouldn't think would have any relationship to football, but there have been multiple times when I've been scrolling through stuff and seeing people making jokes about half A presses, and I'm this kind of surreal experience.
Yeah, because that was you were there when that was found,
right?
That was theorized. I remember because I remember when that was first big. I was like, hey, I knew about this before it was cool.
Yep,
I'm a half A press hipster.
Yep.
Oh man. So that
now, of course, I just downvote and pretend I didn't see it.
Yeah, fair. It was cool for a week, and then it's been years now. Come on, guys. Oh man.
Well, I think we all feel it's not that we mind the memes. It's just that people think it's like, I don't know.
People think it's hilarious.
Right.
And they're just saying
don't
the same
really,
thing.
like, respect the effort that goes into it so much.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like
it's just
the
a funny
spectacle
thing
of it.
because they can laugh at the video.
Right.
Yeah, even though it's like a pretty cool video. I'm just saying.
Right.
If you haven't watched it
history.
somehow at this point, you should. But chances are, if you're
it's
listening to this
important history.
podcast, you've probably watched that video.
Yep.
Oh man. So you mentioned to me earlier, let's on to a completely unrelated topic. You have a secret SM64 confession.
Oh yes. Yes.
So
I did
what
say
is that?
I was going to reveal that. Okay. So I actually, despite Mario 64 being my favorite game,
I think I know what it is.
Despite it being like my, like just casually, like it's always been my favorite game, but I didn't complete the game with 120 stars until after One Key had been released.
Nice.
Like not once.
Really?
I had a save file with like 117 stars for a while. And there were a few ones like HMC 100 coins, Rainbow Ride 100 coins, and I never got around to finishing it for some reason.
There you go. When I was a kid, I got 118 stars because I could not find the entrance into the upper part of Big Boo's Hunt. When I was a kid.
Oh, really? You too?
Yeah, it not well telegraphed at all. I don't know how they expected people to actually find that.
Yeah, for years I got stuck on that star.
Well, there's 2 up there, so I got 118. I was like, man, this is such a weird number to have.
Yeah. I thought it seems like you're supposed to use the crazy box to like bounce up there, but it's not high enough.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah. So, yeah, like when I was younger, I couldn't figure that out either, and then eventually I did.
Eventually you're like, oh, there's just a door here. Why? What?
You're right.
Give me like an arrow or something, some kind of indicator.
Yep.
Oh man. So, is there anything else you'd like to talk about that you just haven't had a chance to talk about?
I'm sure there is, but it's stuff I'll think of after, I'm sure.
Yeah, because we've been going for almost like 2 hours now. This has been a long one.
Yeah, I ramble a lot, so.
Oh, that's great. That's the whole point of podcasts, just rambling continuously.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this has been a lot of fun, and it's great to talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
I've got, maybe I said this before, but just like so much, respect for the way that you've built this Discord up into something that's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great place for, you've got so many talented, creative people that are in this community.
Oh, yeah.
And we can all come in here and be productive, and it's not like toxic in any way. I mean, people have issues, but it's
significantly better than it used to be.
Yeah, it's such a healthy place to be, I feel, and I'm so appreciative of it, of the work you've done, and all the other, the more active moderators.
Yeah, us speaking to each other as mods.
And it's just a really cool community that's become, and I hope that it can continue to
grow.
Develop. Yeah, it's tough because the work that we're doing is so difficult that there's like a barrier to entry, and the people who are who contribute the most are sort of they are not always consistently productive.
Yeah.
So I feel like we haven't been able to be at the level of
availability,
popularity, and productivity that we could be.
Yeah.
But we're always trending upward in that direction, I think. And then this podcast is a big step towards that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Great thing.
Just getting people more interested. Yeah.
Yeah. And people are listening to it. So
nice. Big shout outs to all the listeners. Let's go, listeners.
Yeah. You rock.
Yeah. All the people that contribute to Ukikipedia, which you can. I'm just saying, it's a wiki.
Do that sometime.
You definitely should. You have so much stuff that's like, oh man, oh yeah, here's this one random glitch I found and it's just never documented. Well, what if that glitch ends up being you can beat the game in -2 way presses or something?
Well, it's funny because I always think like, oh, like I couldn't figure anything out, like any use for this, so like there's no point in like mentioning it to other people.
Mhm.
And then when I finally get around to doing it, other people point out at like stuff I miss, like every single time. So
So there you go.
it's probably worth like remembering that.
Yeah, and documenting it before you forget it. Yeah. So there you go. That was a pretty good episode of Ukikicast, I would think.
Yeah, I hope so. And thanks for your time.
All right, thanks for your time. Thank you for being here. This has been a great one. Honestly, I learned a bit, which is something that basically always happens, and I love learning stuff about Mario 64 every time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this has been the special holiday episode of Ukikicast featuring, what was it? Tyler Carnivore was the joke I said.
Yeah.
I've been 11059, your host. Thanks to our guest, Tyler Kehne, for coming on and talking a lot about Mario. That was some fantastic talking. I enjoyed it a lot.
Love chatting with you, man.
We'll see you guys next time. Not sure who's going to be on next time, but it'll be a fun time either way. I've been 11059, and I will see you guys next time.
Peace.